It is time for the end of the year book tag, and I'm going to be sharing all these books and my thoughts behind them. I've read so many good books this year, and I feel like this is the year of really figuring out what I like, and going into 2025, I'm going to know even more like my vibe, like what I'm looking for in a book. And yeah, so let's get into all these books. I read so many, and I'm going to be sharing tons and tons of incredible books in this little like book tag. So I hope you guys subscribe. If you're not, make sure you are, because there are tons of videos every single week, and let's just get into it. This first question is a book you wish you could erase from your memory and read again, and it definitely is Love You Always by Lauren Lacey. I think that this book is so underrated. There are truly like no words to how I can describe how this book made me feel. This book is a messy read. I mean, you can see I just bit it up. Like, I was just like wanting to throw this book. And if you like a messy read, characters who are not perfect and who go back and forth and they hurt each other and they get back together again, and like if you like that, you will eat up this book. It's also a series, so you can continue to read the series. I read the second book in the series, and that one was okay, but this one was top tier. This one only has 314 ratings on Goodreads. Like, it does not have nearly enough hype. This is also written by a Black author, and I just feel like books like this I get so excited about because I'm recommending a book that I was obsessed with. I think I rated this one 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I loved it. But I think that reading a book that's so underhyped that I love, it just, like, I don't know, it just makes me so excited to continue to read more books, because like, what other books out there have I not read, not heard of, that I'm gonna be just like so in love with? The characters in this book, I know that they are like a friends to lovers situation, and the main character in this, she is not Black, but her sister is. The two sisters in book 2 and book 3 they are. So to keep that in mind, I always like to like share that if someone is like looking for a book by a Black author, sometimes I feel like when I'm looking for books like that, I'm looking to see myself in the writing. And so just keep that in mind if you do pick up this book. Again, I did love this one so much. I cannot wait to read the third book in the series. The writing style of this author is very unique. It's very different, but it was something for me. And if you like a messy read, you will definitely love this one. And the next book is a book that I was surprised by in a good way, and then a book I was surprised by in a bad way. And this is the book I was surprised by in a good way. And then Life Was Beautiful by Asia Monique. This is Love You Always by Lauren Lacey, by the way. I'll link all the books below. This book right here, I was surprised by because so many people have said that they don't like pregnancy trope books. And I had never read a pregnancy trope book ever because so many people have said that they didn't like it. So I was just like, I don't know if I'm gonna like it. 4.5 out of 5 stars. Incredible. If you like a very deep, heartfelt, like, I don't know, just, I don't want to say angsty, because it wasn't angsty. It just felt so like soulful, so like soulmates that are like connecting, and like, I don't know, it was a book that I really loved. And again, it has a pregnancy trope in it, which a lot of people say that they don't like, but I think that this one was done really well. And then a book that I feel like I was surprised by, but not in the best way, was Expiration Dates by Rebecca Serrell. I expected to love this one. This one was actually a very anticipated read for the year because I read In 5 Years by this author, really loved it, and I picked up this book and it almost felt as if the author was like trying to make the book have like so many quotable things and like things that people want to annotate or like, you know, repost or whatever, and that to me always gives me the ick. Like, if an author's writing to write, that's one thing, but like trying to put in like these like super deep, meaningful like quotes where it doesn't really seem to fit. I don't know, I just wasn't obsessed with it. I also think the story itself, like, I'm not a huge magical realism person, but In 5 Years by this author did have magical realism in it, so I was like, if I like that book, I'll probably like this one. This one was a little bit less believable. I don't know why, there was just something about it. So wasn't obsessed with that one. I think I rated that one 3 stars, which isn't a bad rating. It's just one of those where I was expecting to rate it like very highly, and I obviously didn't. And then the longest and shortest books I read. The longest book was Demon's Dream by Elle Kaysen. This book is thick. Like, she is so thick. This book is 746 pages, and I think I read this in a few days. Not even joking. Like, I'm literally not making that up. And I love this book so much. I think the reason I love this book is because it's told in 4 different points of view, so you never get bored. And the storyline of like this and all, the storyline of all the characters is so interesting because it's something that wouldn't really happen in like my life or a lot of people's lives that I like know. So it just kept me invested from start to finish. There was never a moment where I was bored. Genuinely never a moment I was bored. If you like a book that is unhinged, if you like a book that is like wild, like people are getting, you know, like if you are a dark romance girl, you should pick up an urban romance. I truly feel like they have a similar vibe. Very different, but very similar vibes. This one ate it up. Definitely is spicy, but like one of you guys actually read this book after I recommended it and you were like, I'm not a big like spice lover, but like I actually love this book and couldn't put it down because the storyline itself was so good. And that is like my favorite type of read. Like if I find a read that has such a great storyline, and even though I am not someone who likes spice on every single page, if it has a storyline that is so captivating that I don't want to put down, I genuinely don't care how much spice is in it as long as that storyline prevails over the spice. And this one definitely does. Then my shortest book was Work Husband by Octavia Grant. This book was 63 pages or 62 pages. So short, so fun. I cannot wait to read more of Octavia Grant's books. This was the year I fell in love with her writing and I found her writing and I've read 3 or 4 of her books already. Yeah, I think 4 books. No, I've read Body Count, Work Husband, I've read Dear Vicky, I read, I feel like there's a new one that I read that I can't remember. It's like Don't Call Me Crazy or something like that. And then, is it only 4? I feel like there's a 5th one that I'm missing. But either way, I've read so many books by her. Loved every single one of them. If you are feeling like you're in a book slump, pick up one of her books. I don't care what the cover looks like. I know. Just read it on Kindle. Like, I eat up her books. Like, if you feel like you're in a book slump, her books will get you out of that. And then a book that was the most emotional book, definitely Into the Dark by Jessa Hastings. I cried so much reading this book because the way that grief is described in this book feels so realistic. And if you've ever went through any type of grief in your life, you will resonate with this book so much. This is book 5 in a series and you have to read the rest of the series before you get to this one. You cannot read this one first. But I do think that by reading the other books first, you almost appreciate the characters and their growth more. And you also like feel the emotions even more. Like it hits different. And I think that this book is and forever will be my only 6-star read. I've never said that I have a 6-star read until reading this one. Maybe not my only, but like I've never said that because I was always like, why do people have to like go outside of the parameters? Like you got numbers 1 through 5. Like is that not enough? And this book genuinely transcends like 5-star reads. Like it's in its own category, and I feel like it always will be. I was mid-read with this one, and I already wanted to read it again, and I can't wait to go back through and annotate it. Also, the writing of Jessa Hastings is incredible. There's so much depth, and it's written as if like you're reading, it's written as if you're talking to a friend but also reading someone's diary. Like it's like the perfect mix between those two mediums. So really love that book. Obviously it was my only 6-star read. And then the happiest book was definitely The Kiss Countdown by Etta Easton. This book was so cute. I don't know, when I first got back into reading, I really only wanted to read fluffy books. And I think part of that was because like my life was like I wasn't in like the best place. So I was like, I want to read books that are gonna like make me happy. I was like loving that. And then I kind of got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm a little bored of like the same storyline over and over again. So now I've kind of stayed away from those books that are just like purely like fluff cutesy reads. And it's hard for me to find a book like that I actually enjoy, like don't want to put down. And this one was like that. This one was straight fluff fun. It was very, very like cutesy. Would be the perfect summer read, and I loved it. And I feel like, again, it's very rare for me to find that in fluffy cutesy romances. Like I need the depth, I need the emotion, but this one didn't really have that, and it was really, really fun. So definitely pick this one up. I remember rating this one 4 stars, which again is like almost unheard of these days for like fluffy cutesy reads. And then this is a book that is, I think this one, the question is like favorite in a series or something like that. Yeah, the best series. And it is This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. Love this book. This was a 5-star read for me. I think that I will forever be obsessed with the Skyland series. The new book comes out in like spring. This book I think I'm obsessed with because it focuses so much on self-love, and I've never read a romance that focuses on self-love, like literally ever, which is wild because so many people need to learn that prior to like getting into a relationship. You have to like learn to love yourself. I mean, like, you can learn to love yourself while you're in a relationship, but like it's best to do that before you're with someone. And this book dives into that so well. I feel like it gives slow burn vibes. It's not true slow burn, but it gives slow burn vibes. And I also always recommended this book to people who love contemporary fiction because even though it's heavy on the romance, it also is heavy on like breaking down barriers and like finding your own way and talking about like self-love, loving yourself, and like her career, her friendships. Like it is so focused on those things as well. So I feel like you'll really enjoy it if you like contemporary fiction. And then this is the book with the prettiest cover, Talking at Night by Claire Daverly. I really enjoyed this one. This was a book that I picked up and didn't really expect to love. Like I'd heard great things about it, but I had never heard of anything that this author has written. And this book just had me hooked. I rated this one 4 stars as well. The cover, I just feel like looks like a painting, and that's why I love it. And this is a book that talks a lot about grief and how to navigate it and how everyone navigates it so differently. And again, I love this one. It is a romance, but it's like more, there's like other focuses in this book as well. So if you're a contemporary fiction girl or romance girl, I feel like that has been what I've really been enjoying this year, is like intermingling the two. Just because in the past I would only read like romance, and now I'm like, okay, I also like to see themes of family and friendship and like all of that stuff too. This is the book with new favorite quotes. I haven't even done my wrap up for the month of December, and this book, 5-star read for me. I've never annotated more than in this book. Like I wish I could show you every single annotation, but we would be here for years. There are so many underlines, so many, and like I read this book and annotated so much in it that it made me want to annotate other books as well. And I've never been a big annotator. I've never been someone who's like, I need to grab my pen, you know, but this book I was like, I need to grab my pen. Like that quote is hitting hard. This is about a girl who is planning on taking her own life, and she goes to this like resort, or not resort, but like a hotel, and she finds out that she's the only one at the hotel that was not invited to a wedding that's there. Like every other guest that's there is gonna be in this wedding or was invited to the wedding. So that's all I'm really gonna say, but it has so much depth. It is really, really good. And then this is my favorite new author. I would also say, adding the caveat that this is one of the most underrated authors, I think, like that I have become in love with, and it's Janisha Boswell. I've talked about her writing so much. If you like a fun read, like a book that's gonna make you laugh with characters that kind of feel like Hannah Grace's books, you know, like Icebreaker, like the found family that you see there. And I wasn't a fan of Icebreaker, so like I hate to even like reference that book to this one, but that's the only book that I can think of that has like a sports romance with like a found family, and also has like funny banter, and like you fall in love with all the characters in the same way that you like love the main characters. This book definitely has that. It's about a girl who is starting to have feelings for her best friend's brother, and he also starts to have feelings for her. She is working for this newspaper for the school, and while she's doing that, she actually has to interview him, but he's not really good at interviews at all. So she decides that she's gonna help him get better at interviews. So they have a lot of one-on-one time together, but obviously her best friend is like, you know, why are you hanging with my brother? Like, so she's like, I don't know if I wanna like have a thing with him or not. This one is so good. Written by a Black author, and it continues in a series. I've already finished the second book in the series. I really love that one as well. And then I'm already planning on buying the next. She has like another series that's like connected to this one in a way. I'm already planning on buying that one. She has a new book in that series coming out next year. So rated this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. Just so freaking good, like so good. And then I also have a book this is a book that I finally read. This has been on my TBR forever. Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. Her books are so good. I've read Monday's Not Coming. This one has depth that I just like. I feel like this should be a movie, honestly. And this was a book that I think I picked up last year, like early last year when I went to Chicago. So it's been on my TBR for quite some time, but her books never miss, literally never miss. I think that this is probably one of my favorite young adult young adult authors, because she just like talks about things that are real, like things that matter. Like sometimes I get tired of like young adult books because it's like, oh, like my test, you know, and it's like, I get it, because like that's what like the target audience is. So like maybe your biggest struggle is like a test that you have, or like your grades or something like that. Like I get it, like it makes sense for like who the target audience is. But also I feel like when I was a young adult, like I didn't really like books like that because that wasn't my biggest priority. Like the things that I really struggled with were a little bit different, and I feel like she touches on a lot of other topics that people would struggle with but just maybe don't see as often in young adult books. Love this book. This is a book that I think needs to be a TV show. The Black Queen by Jemada Emil. This book, I just can't, I can't even, like, I think that this book is like, what is that movie, not How to Get Away with Murder. Oh my gosh, I literally say this all the time, because I read it. I'll put it on the screen. I can't even think of the name, but they turned it into a TV show. I wasn't obsessed with that book. I rated it, it was just fine. They should have made this in a TV show, because I feel like this book is giving what that book was trying to give. I love this. This is about someone who ends up showing up dead at a high school, and they have to figure out who did it, and you genuinely like don't know who it even is, and one of the students at the school is trying to figure it out. It just is like so good. So good. It's a very good thriller. And I feel like I would recommend this, even though it's young adult, I would recommend it to anyone. And then this is a book that is a book that is my happy place. Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I think I love this book because, and this is by a Black author as well. Try to let you guys know, just because I feel like reading diversity is so important. And if you don't know by the cover if it's a Black author or not, like, you know, I just like to let you know so that you can add diverse reads into your TBRs. This book right here is a book I will read every single year. I read it last year, I read it this year. It's a 5-star read for me, and I'm gonna read it again next year. This is a special edition copy of it. It actually has additional pages with Elliot's point of view in the back. This book, I feel like I talk about it so much because it's been a 5-star read of mine for so long, but it just feels like home to me. It's about a girl who is, like, she spends the summers in this little, like, cabin with this guy. Well, not with him, but like he lives next door. So they like build this friendship, and they end up like dating, but then something pulls them apart. So you're getting a then and now timeline, and you see years later that obviously they're not together anymore. You don't know what happened, but this book takes you through that entire timeline, and it is just so good. It's one of my favorite reads. And again, I'm going to read this next year. Read it this year, and I also read it last year. And this is the only book I've ever reread, literally ever in my entire life, except for I read Hopeless by Colleen Hoover because I read that book in 2013 and I wanted to see like my thoughts on it now, which I feel like is different because like I'm not reading it as like a comfort read. I'm reading it to see if like my taste from in the past is the same as it is now, if that makes sense. So love this one. Please pick this book up. Like, it is so good. Also, the main character in this, she is a woman of color. And I feel like a lot of people don't know that whenever they read this book. I freaking love Macy. Like, she's one of my favorite book characters. And then this is a book that is an unpopular book that I love. Now, I hate to say unpopular because it's only unpopular because people haven't heard about it yet. So it's not a book that like people don't like that I love. It's a book that like no one really knows about. And I think it only has like 1,500 reviews or something like that on Goodreads, and it's called Lipstick and Camera Clicks by DJ Murphy. I've talked about this book so much because it deserves more hype. Maybe it doesn't even have that many reviews on Goodreads. Like, I don't even know. I'm gonna literally look it up because I like letting you guys know if a book is like hyped up or not, because like one thing that I've been trying so hard to do this year is to read books that are not hyped up yet and just give those indie authors some love. Yeah, it has 1,587 reviews on Goodreads. Like, that's literally it. So this book is about a girl who's kind of in a little bit of a love triangle because she goes into this TV show that's kind of like The Bachelor type of vibe, goes on the TV show and ends up having feelings for the producer and also having feelings for the main character that she's like supposed to be, or the main like guy of the TV show that she's actually supposed to be falling in love with. And they both have feelings for her as well. So this is written by a Black author, and the author also has a new book coming out next year. And I think that the character in her new book has, what's it called? Vitiligo? I think that's what it's called. I could be wrong. I don't know if that's like actually what it's called, but I love when authors like create characters that you don't see often in books, just to make someone else feel seen, or just like write stories that are unique and different. Like this one is a love triangle, and I just was like, I love them both. I love them both. Like I want her to choose both of them, and I love that for her. And she's also a very confident female main character, which was great. This is a book that everyone loved that I didn't love. This has 4 stars on Goodreads, and I just wasn't obsessed with it. I have already done a video with books that I wasn't obsessed with this year, and this is one of them. I think the reason why I didn't like this one is because it was so long. It was 514 pages for a romance, and I love the Dreamland Billionaire series, the entire series. It was like one of my favorites a few years ago. I rated all of them 4 stars. This one, I just genuinely think it was too long. I also feel like they weren't doing a lot for most of the book. I was like, I mean, where are you going? Like, you're like, oh, I'm getting in the car. We're gonna go over to this like real estate property. Okay, I'm getting in the car. We're gonna drive out of town to like do this thing. And like, I don't know. I just like, they were supposed to be enemies, but they didn't feel like enemies at all. Like while I was reading it, I was like, you guys obviously have feelings for each other. Like it's obvious. So like, what's the point of the whole enemies to lovers thing, because you're just being lovers? Like it just like didn't give me what I expected. But I do plan on reading the second book because I do love this author's writing. Like I love her writing. It's so fun, super easy to read. I mean, this was a thick book. I feel like I read it decently fast for how thick it was. And then this book right here is my new comfort read. This one actually kind of reminds me of Love in Other Words, because again, it's about 2 people who are kind of like, they were together at one point and then something pulled them apart, and you kind of get to see them have this like second chance situation. And they're both actually helping their best friend like plan his wedding, and I just think that it's cool like seeing them team up together when they obviously don't want to like be around each other at all. This one felt so heartfelt, so deep, so emotional, like just a really, really great read. I rated this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. So loved all of these. I have so many more books that I'm gonna share, and I'm actually gonna do a video soon with my top books of 2024, but I kind of want to wait because I feel like there might be a few more books by the end of the year that I add into that like list of my top books. Like I read The Wedding People literally this month, and that was a 5-star read for me, which I did not expect. So I'm kind of thinking like maybe that could happen again. Like I don't know. So we will see. I will keep you guys posted as always. Make sure you guys are subscribed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.